episode of Beautiful Subconscious. I'm Shel Marie, and today we're delving into the profound connection between our minds, our bodies, and sexual wellness. Joining me today is Amy Campbell, a registered psychologist and sexologist based out in Perth, Western Australia. Through her practice, Bear Psychology, Amy creates a safe and empowering space for women to explore the links between mental health and sexual well-being. She's passionate about breaking the silence around sexuality, helping women feel more at home in their bodies, and shifting the narrative from shame to self-trust. Welcome, Amy.
I'm so excited to be here and to jump into everything that you've just said.
Yeah, me too. And it's so interesting, like the idea of letting women come back to the bodies, like this is actually the tagline for Beautiful Subconscious, like come home, a place within. And I think, we are all coming back to the awareness of how much we have lived in our minds, lived disassociatedly, and to be able to land back in our bodies and how much that's going to change so many beautiful, deep and intimate areas of our lives. It is a gift to be on this ride with you.
Yes. Oh, it's just very aligned.
Yeah, I agree. So first things first, with our episodes, we always pull a card. So in your time, can you let me know when to stop? And that will be our card for today.
I will. Let me drop in and feel into it. And I think now.
Nice. Oh, this is so this ties in beautifully. I'm a miracle and more than safe enough to be all of who I am.
Oh.
Tell ya. The way that they line up with the episodes and the topics that we talk about is just truly profound. But I mean, for all women and men to feel safe enough in who they are, how much would that just amplify their sexual connection? So I would love to delve on in and get your insights of this. So firstly, can you start off with letting us know how were you drawn to this work and having that special focus on sexual well-being?
Yeah, look, I have always had a bit of an interest in the taboo. So I think that was sort of, as soon as I got to uni and I was like, I'm going to study psychology, I was like, great, what are they going to say about sex? And then they said nothing. And I was like, this doesn't.
It's a big elephant in the room, you would think.
Yes. And so, but you could sort of take it as a elective course in sexology. And that was when I first got to dip my toes in there. And then I guess since then I have been on the bandwagon of screaming into the void in how are we still having conversations about wellness and then separating our sexual wellness. That makes no sense at all. Like you can't have one without the other. But interestingly enough, they still like to be really separated. We like to separate psychologists and sexologists and feel like it's all separate, whereas it's all part of the one thing. It's our identity. It's our relationships. It's our nervous system. It's everything that is part of our wellness.
Absolutely. And I think, we're 2025 now, to be able to really lean into our sexual well-being and our sexual, our sex life, it's like, why do we want to hold back with that? And so why do you think people are still holding back in really leaning into their sexual wellness?
I think even though we're in 2025 and you're seeing it now on TikTok, right? You can be like, yes, I see sex toys everywhere. I can see these conversations. That is relatively new. I think even back to my education and then even my training and even that course and how it looks now, these are conversations that as a society have been really deeply shameful in the past. And that doesn't just flip around quickly. And so I think that we're in this interesting time where we're open to it, but we're holding a lot of shame of the past.
Yes. I get that. And, I guess speaking from the energetic side of things and the emotions that get stored in our body, shame is such a dense frequency. It's such a dense vibration. And to unshackle from that, it takes a lot because we've been so used to it. And it's quite a heavy sort of energy that even though we do want to be able to explore and feel safe enough to explore the authenticity of our sexuality, I think, learning that and feeling safe enough to unlearn something that we so deeply embedded in is like logically we can get it, but subconsciously the body's just like, wait, is that safe? Is that safe?
Exactly. And I think that's where most of my work has sort of landed in, is that mindfulness, very similar to your own, of coming back to the body. We can cognitively have these conversations, but most people I work with really struggle to get into the feeling side of it. It's like, I can understand it, but how do I get there?
Yes. Okay. Well, I would love to just explore that. Like, so you get clients that come on in and they are obviously aware that they're coming to you for intimacy therapy, I would say, or is it specifically sexual therapy? Like how, so they come to you and can you explain what that process is like?
Yeah, I would say there's sort of, two types of entry points. Sometimes there's people who are confident to say, yes, I want to come and seek sex therapy. This is an issue that either me or my partner is having. And then there's like this other side that is, I'm coming maybe with anxiety, or I'm coming maybe with symptoms of depression. And then as they build that confidence, it's like, yeah, and it's showing up in my sex life. And I chose your website because that felt really safe to do so. And so sometimes it's maybe not the first thing that comes up in session, but those safety cues of I can talk about sex here means it comes up when they're ready. And that's a big part. I don't think a lot of us have the language to talk around sex, let alone when sex goes wrong or when there's difficulties. Sometimes it's like, Amy, I just need to practice even saying these things out loud to you because I'm not used to talking about it, or my nervous system just shuts down. A lot of the time, that's a lot of our work of just, can my nervous system feel safe enough? And I love that that was the card that you pulled, because it is, can we practice just talking about it? Because I can't talk about this. And there is no safety cues in the GP office. There is no places where they feel like, how am I supposed to talk about this?
Yeah, yeah. And that is so right. You know, you've just taken me back to even before I started kinesiology, and it wasn't because of my sex life, but it was the ability of not knowing, or the inability to know how to express myself in the times of stress. And you just have those stress symptoms of like this particular stress of mine. It was simply being seen and standing up in front of a space and openly talking, and became a yoga teacher. And yoga is so generally non-discriminative, and it's just everyone's just here to be really accepting and just want to get a little bit more peaceful within themselves. But standing up in front of them and having them look back at me and me feeling safe enough to know that I do belong and I do have things to share and I can guide them through. I didn't have the language of that at the time, and I didn't have the connection to that either. All I knew was my body was freezing and I didn't have the ability to be able to work or understand through the panic, because my mind's like, it's yoga, like what's the big deal? But my body is clogging up in my mouth, like the pressure of not knowing how to communicate froze in my throat, in my chest. And so you're having these reactions, and I could very much understand when people are trying to express themselves in their sexuality or their sexual wellness, and maybe in their relationship, it's a part that they just don't know how to communicate because they haven't had the opportunity or the education or the safety to be able to do so. But they just know they need to because their body is responding in such a significant state of stress.
Yes. I think that's spot on. I think like the most common things I see is when this shows up in either low libido or sexual pain, right? It's like, I don't have the words around this, but my body is in that stress response cycle. It's freezing up. And then I'm seeing all these things where, oh my goodness, we're in a world now where comparison is just rife. So everyone's seeing like way more comparisons of bodies, other people's sex lives. Half of them are not real at all. And so they're in this comparison state. And then in their own life, they're freezing or their body's not responding to what they see or what they perceive other people's bodies are doing.
Absolutely. So I think, you know, it would to be a lot to do with lifestyle, right? So I think, I mean, we understand we're beginning to learn that sexual wellness matters, and like why, I guess, how is that linked to our way of living and how we're just so on the go and we're just like in this constant state of like go mode?
It's a really interesting one because a few things happen, I think, and there is some emerging research on this topic about how busy we are and how stressed we are.
Hello, lovely listeners. Our Total Life Transformation Program is live. If you feel stuck in your health, career, relationships, or money, this is the chance for a complete revamp. Over 6 months, you'll experience powerful changes that will transform every part of your life. With the guidance of 5 specialists, so yours truly, a kinesiologist, money mentor, functional health practitioner, career advisor, and our relationship coach, we address 4 key life pillars: your health, your career, your money, and your relationships. One investment shifts you from feeling low-key, unfulfilled to fully energized and inspired in every area of your life. Health. If stress, emotional baggage, or unhealthy habits drain you, we will help release what's in your subconscious and create a personalized nutrition and supplement plan to reset your energy and health. Career. If you feel lost or stuck in your career, our kinesiologist and career mentor provide clarity, confidence, and an action plan to move forward with purpose. Money. If scarcity or fear around money keeps you stuck, we heal your financial blueprint. With our money mentor, you will gain practical strategies to confidently manage your finances for life. And relationships, if disconnection in your relationships leave you feeling unseen, we heal emotional wounds, leading to deeper connection, trust, and love. Now it's time to create your extraordinary life. So book your clarity call now for our Total Life Transformation Program because it is live and waiting for you.
So if you think about our bodies, how they're designed, I know you talk about this a lot, and we're designed to keep safe, right? So if we're in our stress response cycle and we're going, our bodies are not going, now's a really good time to have sex. They're going, if you're stressed and you're busy and these things need to get done and you're activated, I'm not going to give you any cues of like, now's a good time to relax and have some pleasure time, right? This system is designed to keep us safe from like tigers and bears. Like if you're running away from that, the last thing to do is to slow down and have sex, right? So I think that happens is we're so busy. We're so used to this high level of stress and going through. That's a big part of it. And then there's this other side in we actually need to connect. If we're going to be having partnered sex, we need to connect with our partners. And it was a couple of weeks ago, I read this article and it was about how much time we spend on different things, in the last couple of years. And it's almost like there's just no time to connect anymore. So we need a lot of connection. We need to build these connections so we can feel safe to then have these amazing sexual experiences with another person. But if our entire lives are like, I work and then I do my side hustle and then I'm doing my parenting and then I'm doing my cooking and I'm cleaning and I'm doing all these things, we're not connecting anymore.
No, our simple way of being and our everyday living is so disconnected anyway, right? Because this, survival mode of just, getting through the day and we're overriding our natural rhythms that to then soften into an intimate state where we need, to have presence and feel at ease. It's like the polar opposite of how our bodies have been operating every single day, more times than not. And so I guess my question is with that also, women, do you believe, is it true that, is that more of a challenge for women to be able to switch gears like that from being like, all right, go, because it seems like, yes, we're always our brains are a little bit more wired for multitasking is what I understand. Like we can see and be across a little bit more things, generally speaking, than the males who are like, this is my target, this is my prey, this is what I focus on, I get that done. And then they can switch gears a little bit more easier. So in that world of intimacy, is it reflective in the female and their libido and their sex lives of like, all right, like why is it harder for them?
Yeah, it's
if
such
it
an
is.
interesting question. And I think, perhaps even rather than like going it's harder, it's different. And I think the model that we're given, like everything, is the male model, right?
Right.
So we see like I suddenly am ready, up for it, and I either have like this high or low libido and I want sex all the time or on this regular schedule. But men have a 24-hour hormone cycle, right? And so it's going to be hard for women to fit into that 24-hour cycle because they don't. They cycle typically over 28 days. We have this really long cycle of our hormones going up and down. So it's going to be harder if we hold that as the version of what it should be. However, if we lean into this idea that actually we have this beautiful longer cycle and we're going to peak, there are going to be times where like our sexual energy is really, really high, and then that's going to dip as we go into a different part of our cycle. I think that then it's not harder. It's just understanding that that's how we work.
Beautiful. Because like, it's true, right? That we females, like there's actual facts in science that we are the moon cycle, as we know, and the men are the sun cycle. So when we get our, awarenesses and understanding in and around that, that is, I guess, a good platform to communicate from and understand, okay, that makes it, you would imagine it would make sense to both genders potentially. I guess also then with that, it's pretty common knowledge. I mean, I don't want to assume either that like when we're ovulating in our ovulation part of our cycle, is that when we're a little bit more like ready to rock for females?
Yeah, so we're going to have like a huge peak, right, when we're ovulating. And that just makes sense because the egg's there. And so, again, we're built for survival. It's like, let's reproduce.
Procreate.
And yes, so that's going to be like a big peak. But I think that perhaps like it's much more nuanced than that. I think we're definitely starting to understand, and I've seen some great social education around this of like, I'm ovulating, so I'm super horny, and we're being like, okay, I can understand that and I can feel it. But it happens throughout our entire phase. So when we're in that, like, our cycle starting again, and when we're in that follicular phase, it's actually like there's a lot of science here around how attracted we're going to be to our partners. Like that moves throughout our cycle. So when we're sort of in our follicular stage, we're wanting to, or we're more attracted to characteristics that are typically with testosterone. So we're going to be looking for like big muscles and lots of facial hair. And if your partner fits that might work really well. But if your partner doesn't fit that and your partner is feminine or appears really feminine, that might be a confusing time going like, my hormones are saying like, go for this thing. And even accepting again in our cycle that our attractiveness to our partner is going to change. And so, then as we go through, like we have this peak of going, but this is a really good time to have sex. And then the research gets a little murky after that. So in our luteal phase and as we menstruate, some women experience a complete lack of desire. Again, we could maybe look at this and go, what's going on in their connection to their body? Other women are really wanting a different type of desire. So it's like, these are the times where I want to be held and I'm looking for my nurturing cues to kick in my libido. Whereas over here, I don't want nurturing cues. I want like strong cues.
Yeah,
and
ravished.
Yes. And being able to go, we need to be able to flow with that because sex has to look different across the cycle.
Yeah. I think, when that awareness comes, it's easier to navigate, right? For within a couple, which is really great. So what would be your advice or practical tools, perhaps in ways women can either, I was very fascinated with what you were saying at the start, I guess, with the follicular stage in the cycle and how that, like, there's more testosterone attraction. So those typical testosterone traits is what we can go for. But say if your partner is more feminine or your partner is female or feminine, what how do you navigate that? Like, what would you suggest?
I think it's all, again, coming back to the body. I think lots of things go on in our brain, right? And lots of things go on in our hormones, but being able to actually slow that down and go, but what am I feeling and what do I need right now? And I think this goes across the whole cycle, and it goes across sex life overall, is being able to slow it down enough and go, what would feel pleasurable for me right now? It sounds so simple, but it's actually really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I guess with a lot of the women then, and if they have been living, disconnectedly from their sexuality or their sex wellness, what can be some things that they can start to incorporate or include now to get themselves reconnected to their intimate sides of themselves?
I think, oh my gosh, I could go on for days of what could happen, but I think the biggest bang for buck is start practicing mindfulness. The research on this goes above and beyond. And the interesting part of this is you can dive really deep. There's lots of beautiful work to be done. But if you're new to this or you're listening to this and going, oh my God, I don't even know where to start, practicing 15 minutes of mindfulness and not even related to your sex life. This is just maybe connecting to your breath or doing a mindful shower or however you want to practice it is going to improve your sex life. Just that in itself, connecting to your body cues is going to do so much for your sex life, even if that's as far as you go.
Absolutely. Yes. You can understand how that would impactfully, improve, because in those moments of intimacy, you hear so commonly that women are like, I'm just in my head the whole time. I'm in my head. So to be able to be mindful and practice more mindfulness to slow that down and create space within there and to be able to drop you back into your body. It's just, it just goes hand in hand, doesn't it? It really does.
Yes. So much so that is my entire book, right? So I deep dive into exactly how to practice mindfulness in sex. And I think it is the first thing to focus on is getting back in your body, looping back around to everything that you practice and seeing that as a holistic part of your overall well-being. It's going to help your sex life. It's going to help your stress levels. It's going to help everywhere.
All the things, absolutely. The amount of how it is so interconnected and so empowering and just intricately supportive of each other it's just all signs lead to come back to your body. The end. Full stop. Exclamation mark. I would love to learn about your book too. Can you please, can you give us an insight onto what your book is? I know you just touched on mindfulness, but what can we expect within your book? What's it called? And I would love to learn more of it.
So it's the Mindful Sex Guide. It has just been released last week. So you can find it probably thank you. Amazon's probably the easiest one. And it's a very, very practical guide. So I find that even that in itself, I think most of us have probably come across mindfulness before. We get it. We get why that would be helpful in sex, but often everything that's missing is the how-to, and no one really gets into the nitty-gritty. And again, sometimes we don't even have the language of how to talk about it when it comes to sex. So it is a very practical guide that you can flick through and go, oh yes, I'm going to practice this thing. And Amy's listed out exactly what I need to do, how I can talk about my partner or how I can talk about this with my partner and have some fun. I think that is really helpful when it comes to exploring new things and things that might hold some level of anxiety and shame. Is we're more likely to do these things if it's fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's all about connection, right? At the end of the day, we feel more connected when we're having fun, obviously we feel safe, we have fun, and it's just coming from a place of enjoyment and not, obligation or anything like that. So I think this will be a really good, if women are at that sort of, where do I go? How do I start to work on and understand myself a bit better from what I'm experiencing and reconnect more intimately within my sex well-being, this book sounds like a perfect way to really begin that journey. So I'm excited to grab those details and we'll put them on the show notes. But it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And I just think it's a really, really, for me, and I'm sure so many of the listeners, it's just a juicy, beautiful topic. It's just like we all experience it. We all want to understand it more because understanding our sexual well-being is also a level of understanding ourselves more intimately. And that's what we deserve to do. And I think that is a real gift for ourselves, is the more we understand ourselves, the more we get to embody that and share that gift with the world. And an avenue and a very important part is through our sexual connection and our intimate connections. So it's been an absolute pleasure. I could just continue to just ask questions and be like, what about this? But it has been a pleasure. Where can people find you? Where can listeners find you?
Yep. So you can find me at Bear Psychology. My website's over there. You can find me on Instagram at Bear by Amy. And yeah, you can find me on Amazon. Finally, with the link to the book there.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time. I am going to be following along. I'm going to get myself a copy too. So I hope we get to chat again, in the near future and dive a little more into that because, this is a beautiful combination of the subconscious and our, sexual wellness. So thank you for your time. For those who have listened, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. If this has really resonated or if you know someone that this could support, please share it with them. We would love to hear your take and any insights and your experience. And give Amy and I a little DM and let us know how you found it. So from me and Amy, until next week, live life liberated. Thank you.
Audience exclusive.